So I thought it'd be good to start off with almost like doing it in reverse. So you've heard sort of where we are now. I'll just take you back to sort of 3 years ago, and being fortunate enough to be the corporate responsibility leader for Cummins for 3 years introduced me to an absolute wealth of fantastic people in Huddersfield who work in these smaller charities that have no sort of visibility nationally, certainly, very little visibility within the area, and these people are just doing fantastic work. And initially I thought with Cummins and our corporate responsibility, I can make a difference, and we did, and we absolutely do. And we can bring in people, and we can decorate rooms, and we can put new IT systems in, and we can get all those things. And then it dawned on me, Charlotte, when we were sat down with a good friend of yours, and we were in a charity, and what became apparent was a lot of these charities are basically just living year by year, because when they get the grants, when they get the funding for the work that they do, those individuals are sort of employed for 1 year, because that's how long the grant is. One of our good friends was in this position, and I went in one day and I said, "So how's it going?" "Well, actually, my money isn't getting refunded, the rest of the organisation is, but I'm out of work on Monday." And I just thought, this is wrong. And it was in an area around sexual abuse that, in the national news and in the local news, the demand was just rocketing. And I just thought, how can this be that demand is rocketing and yet organisations that are providing services? And the reality is, and you've sort of heard it, is that it's very difficult to get money for salaries and running costs for these organisations. And it's the one thing at Cummins we can't give. I can't get access to money to pay for salaries, and I can't get access to money to pay for rent. So about 3 years ago, I thought, this is, excuse my language, fucking ridiculous. What can we do about it? And I had this crazy notion. I sort of worked out a few numbers in my head, and Bernie, and I thought, what can I do to keep Bernie's job? All I've got to do is if I could find 1,000 people to give me £1 a week. £1 a week, what's £1 a week? £1 a week buys nothing these days, right? Absolutely nothing. So, at an individual level, £1 a week is nothing. But if I could find 1,000 people, and this was my crazy idea, 1,000 people, £52,000, I could save Bernie's job. And that's how it started, right? And I didn't get to 1,000, but I got to 100. And I found 100 people that would back me and give me £1 a week. So for those of you who know about charity organisations and registered charities in the UK, you have to be able to demonstrate that you have £5,000 in the bank before you can become a registered UK charity. So, being the head of the Optimist, after a year of running and having 100 members, and you can all work out the maths, give me £1 a month, didn't actually get me to £5,000 in the bank, but I thought, I'll put my registration in, I've got all these great people behind me, and you can see from my projections I will get to £5,000. Unfortunately for the UK Charity Commission, that's not good enough. You have to actually have it in the bank. So we had 2 years of sort of being a little bit scary, in as much as I was calling myself, not calling myself a charity. I had charity in the name, but everywhere I was declaring, saying, I am not a charity, I am not an official charity. But you're in a bit of a chicken and egg situation, because you're trying to generate money, but you can't officially call yourself a charity. So after 2 years, we got to £5,000 in the bank. And Linda, who's here tonight, is one of our trustees. Jonathan, unfortunately, who can't be here tonight. Jonathan Wales, who a lot of you know, who was a business in the community connector for a year in Huddersfield. He's away with the family this weekend, so unfortunately he can't make it. But with, like I say, pretty much 100 people joining pretty quickly, and then a number of fundraising events, we got to £5,000, which meant that we can then become an officially registered charity. So we are now an officially registered charity in the UK. So if you do the maths, we are bringing in about £5,000 a year. We're pretty much doubling that up with fundraising activities we do, so we're bringing in 10 grand. Our stated objectives through the charity registration, which we are now bound and governed by, is that we are supporting charities in the Huddersfield area with staffing and core related costs, which very few other grant organisations do. So I think we're fairly unique. And also about trying to sort of find organisations where a little bit of money will make a huge amount of difference. And I think we're finding them. And the other thing we want to be is we want to be integrated, we want to be working with them. We don't just want to be sort of just giving money. We want to work with the people, we want to talk with the people, we want to understand the issues that the organisations are having. And as with Wendy, right, we've brought in a lot in from Cummins. And we've done a lot of great work with Cummins there. But actually, if it wasn't for the Loose Change charity, that would have all been wasted because Wendy wouldn't have been there to actually deliver the services, so they shut down. So even though we'd have gone in and painted a room and provided a lovely new floor and kitchen unit and storage units, it would have been wasted because Wendy wouldn't have been there to do it. And so that's where we've stepped in. You've heard from Joe about how, and you know, I said to Joe earlier on tonight, actually, even though the Loose Change charity hasn't got a lot of money, the amount that Joe requested from us seemed quite small, and yet to Joe it was a huge difference.
You haven't said where Joe's from.
So Joe is from Talk Through. So the charity is Talk Through, which is right in the centre of Huddersfield on the second floor. And I think you did mention Joe, right? So pregnancy related. I don't know if you did or not, but Joe counsels with pregnancy related. So I won't go there because you can tell it a lot better than I can. But anyway, so where was I?
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Where was I?
You were on the second floor of a building.
Oh, on the second floor of a building somewhere. Yeah.
The amount she requested was quite small.
Thank you, Emma. So the amount we're requesting quite small. So it's quite bizarre. I was at the bar when we were setting up this afternoon, and one of my colleagues from the golf club says, "So what's all this about tonight then, Ian?" I said, "Oh, we're having a charity launch night." And he said, "Oh, great, what does charity do?" And I went, well, we're a fundraising charity that's trying to get money for other charities in Huddersfield that can't get money to pay for salary." And I thought, oh God, this isn't actually going pretty well. I haven't got a new member here. It's quite a hard concept to get over. It's quite a hard concept to get over that we aren't focused. We are aimed at a particular sector. We are aimed at a particular need. And also the other difficult thing to get across is that actually just finding people to give you £1 to them might not seem a great deal, but collectively it's huge. And we've heard tonight it's huge, and it can be huge.